The boy walks in, carrying an odd, jelly-like medicine, ugly and unappetizing in every way, and urges her to take it. She stares at it with visible dread, already feeling sicker just looking at it. She wonders bitterly how it ever came to this. When she doesn't respond, he steps closer and nearly shoves it toward her mouth, demanding to know what she's doing and why she isn't drinking it. His expression shifts as he tells her he went through so much trouble, so much hardship, just to get this for her. Then, with quiet sadness, he asks again, is she really not going to drink it? He is Pigeon Allurement, Crown Prince of the Albrecht Empire. She tells him it isn't that she doesn't want to drink it, she just wanted to quietly enjoy the rest of her life. But he insists once more, they said it is good for health, so he personally went all the way to the top of Crowan Mountain in Sahalan and hunted a monster there to bring back its heart. She cannot even buy this with money. It's filled with all his sincerity. She finally gives up and blurts out she will drink it. She drinks it in one go and immediately drops to the floor, feeling as though everything she's eaten in the past week is about to come back up. He exclaims she is the best. Since she drank this today, she won't collapse. At least not today. A cheerful smile spreads across his face as he says from now on, she shouldn't collapse whenever she wants. She absolutely has to get his permission before she collapses. Exhausted, she thinks he should at least say something that makes sense. Then he reminds her now that she has taken the medicine, they should get started for real. Outside linger the Arlin Health Council of the Imperial Knights and the 99 Imperial physicians and attending doctors, all experts gathered just for her. Arlin turns to him asking why is he going this far. He exclaims she took the medicine, so they have to just see how much healthier she has gotten, don't they? They then encourage her to do 3 sets of strength training and then 10 laps around the mansion. The poor girl realizes at this rate she will die before she ever gets healthy. Later, she sits slumped in the chair. He walks over and asks if she's already tired, adding that she's far too weak like this. She glances up at him with effort, her eyes dull, but he only says she needs to get healthy soon so they can go hiking and hunt monsters together. Then he smiles, telling her not to worry, he will definitely make her healthy. In that moment, all she can do is plead with anyone to get this male lead away from her. A 19-year-old genius violinist, once hailed as a prodigy, blessed by the heavens capturing the world's attention. But this one didn't even get hit by a typical truck, but by a luxury sedan, losing her life, and she reincarnated as a character in a novel. Since she could barely count the number of novels she actually finished, it didn't take long for her to realize which novel she reincarnated into. Without a doubt, the character known as her in the novel is Arlin Sigria Halburn, the heiress of the Halburn ducal family, one of the 5 great dukedoms of the Albrecht Empire, and the sole successor of her ducal house. At first she thought to herself, this was basically being born with a diamond spoon. There was a time when she used to be very happy about that. But then she started feeling dizzy the moment she woke up. A body that ran out of breath after just a little running. And then all she could think was what a trashy body this was. And that is how she realized that she was a terminally ill extra. Unaware of her confused heart, the memories of her past life grew clear over time. Gradually, she began hearing things even a child shouldn't know. The people around her often talked about how they heard she was picked up from somewhere and no one even knew who her mother was. A mysterious daughter that the Duke of Halburn suddenly brought home one day, leaving her to the steward of the mansion. The Duke departed alone for the northern front lines, and passed away before she turned 10, burying the whole truth in mystery. A minor extra who only appeared twice in the original work, a terminally ill character who died early on, the male lead's insignificant childhood friend. She knew that to change the set fate in the novel and start a business or grow stronger, she needed to be healthy to do all that. She wonders what is she supposed to do with this trashy body. She finally remembered her past life, but she has zero motivation. She has basically done nothing for almost a week now. Her gaze then drifts to the door. Now that she thinks about it, it is about time for them to show up. Her only guardian. There is a knock on the door and he announces it is Mahan. He steps in with the maids and says he heard she has been staying in her room lately, so he stopped by. He wants to know if there's anything troubling her. To her, he sounds like a government clerk taking complaints. Mahan, the predator of the Halburn estate, a commoner by birth, once called a genius. He serves as the Duke of Halburn's steward, chief aide and the manager of the capital mansion. Back when she didn't have memories of her past life, she used to be afraid of Mahan because of his stern demeanor. But now that she sees it, he's just like an overworked corporate employee. He glances at her and asks if she has anything to say. She hesitates before looking at him and smiling, saying it has been a while. This catches him off guard. She assures him there's nothing going on so he doesn't have to worry. However, he points out, according to the Childcare group, he heard she hasn't been going on lately. She shoots back, he used to hate her going out, remember? He reasons it is because any kind of outing puts too much strain on her heart. She tells him not to worry, she will behave and stay quiet. Later, Mahan is consumed in thoughts. He cannot quite put his finger on it, but something feels soft, though it has been 3 months since he last saw her face. He calls out to Dylan and orders him to gather the childcare group. Even the highly capable steward of the Halburn estate Mahan feels helpless in front of the completely different field of childcare. The conclusion he reached was, let's leave it to the experts. He began mobilizing them by using the Lord's funds, a top talent among the graduates of the Ernst International Butlers and Maid Academy. Her care unit was composed of theoretically perfect talents, commonly known as the child care group. Later, they are all gathered in a sitting room as Mahan them all if they sensed it too. Head maid Rena is the first one to speak up, but not knowing how to put it, she seems strangely lifeless. It is like her sharpness has faded. She has holed up in her room and won't come out. Butler Ern is the next to admit that she also smiles a lot less compared to before. Even when they try to make her laugh, she would usually at least chuckle. He questions if something happened, but they reply if it happened, there's no way they wouldn't know. Mahan turns to the head maid and questions how is her health. She replies according to the court physician, there's nothing unusual. The others also point out it is the first time she has suddenly shut herself in like this. Before it was the opposite. They had to stop her from going out too much. Now they don't even get to see her face anymore. Mahan thinks over their words, wondering if something could have happened. Suddenly the head maid rises up, exclaiming now that she recalls, tomorrow is that day. It's the day the young lady visits the imperial palace. Next day she stands outside thinking it is the day to meet the male lead. Or rather, it is an official social gathering to foster ties between the crown prince, noble heirs and other imperial elites. Maybe because this world runs on highly advanced magical engineering, there's so much to see. Well, it is the imperial palace where all the wealth and technology gather, so of course it's more extravagant here. And yet, because of this wretched body of hers, just walking a little already feels like dying. She's guided to one of the rooms, watching all the children inside and thinking so these are the ones meant to be its future. It feels like she is looking at celebrities. She looks at one of them, knowing that one is going to become the infamous womanizer and the other one is going to turn into a mad sword master. Not to mention they will create a scandalous love triangle that will shake the entire empire. It is such a strange feeling knowing someone's future like this, though she won't be part of that future. Just then, she looks up at the sudden voices echoing through the hall. Everyone has gathered to greet the crown prince, the main lead of the novel. She watches in mild surprise, her eyes settling on the young boy at the center of attention. Is that really the face of a 7-year-old? She wonders. He stands with effortless confidence, greeting everyone with a bright, beaming smile. He finally asks them what should they play today. If anyone has a good idea, shout it out. One of the twins replies he got nothing, and then finally someone suggests how about they go outside. They decide to play find the ball again. Everyone seems excited, but she sits there silently. It is not surprising, but still, no one really cares that she's even here. The one and only precious daughter of House Halburn. They call her a gem among jewels born of nobility. The reality was far more pathetic. Even in Halburn's estate, Errol was a mere extra. Didn't matter what her status was, everyone treated her the same. After she realized she reincarnated, there was just one thing she hoped for. A warm, loving family that cherishes her more than anything. Sadly, even in this life, she didn't get that. Now, as she sits there all alone, all she can think is she should have known better than to hope. But finally she gets up, deciding to head out anyway. The maid nearby smiles and asks for permission to scout her outside. But she replies she is fine, she can walk on her own. In the novel Zarel was too frail. She probably couldn't play with the other kids much either. She bets she tried so hard just to not be left out. But why should she do that? She doesn't feel like pushing herself. She decides to kill some time and head back. Later, she's sitting under a tree, relaxing in the shade instead of exhausting herself trying to impress anyone. There's a small smile playing on her lips. The breeze is nice, kind of clears her head. Then something catches her attention. Just beyond the hedges, a small tail flicks into view. It's a cat. She recognizes it. She's seen the kitty around the palace before. Perhaps it belongs to the empress or the emperor. She thinks and slowly approaches. But just as she reaches out, the cat darts back into the bushes, leaving her blinking in confusion. Before she can process it, she feels a sudden warmth at her hand and turns to find it resting in the crown prince's. He's looking down at her with curious eyes. He asks who she is. The question stuns her. What is he doing here? After a brief pause, she replies that she's from the Halburn family. He then asks why she's here alone when everyone else is playing together. She answers honestly that she doesn't feel well enough to join them. He asks is she sick. She answers yes, and even running a little makes her collapse. He says nothing more, simply watching her with quiet curiosity. She shuts her eyes, thinking this is getting uncomfortable. Can he take the hint and leave now? But then he raises an eyebrow, asking how could someone pass out from just running. She's lying. She replies she is not lying. He challenges her to then prove it by running. All she can do is smile in disbelief. Despite her insistence, he's not ready to believe it. She lets out a sigh, deciding to get this over with. She starts running, thinking perfect weather to pass out. But soon, her legs feel heavy and her breath turns uneven. She curses her weak body. She wonders how much did she even run? Why is she already out of it? Her breathing gets worse. Then she slips. He watches in shock but manages to catch her just in time. A maid nearby sees it happen and screams for someone to call a doctor. Today was supposed to be a friendly get-together for the crown prince and the empire's elite heirs, also known as the play date for the future. In what should have been the safest place, Aurel collapsed and was carried back unconscious. Not even a proper explanation from the royal court. Mahan thinks if even House Halburn members are reacting like this, the royal family is definitely involved. He steps into the room, where everyone is screaming demanding answers from the palace. He tells them they can deal with the palace later. Right now, he wants to know if the little miss is alright. The maid replies she's awake but she issued an isolation order and insists on not seeing anyone right now. Meanwhile, at the imperial palace, the crown prince is summoned by his mother. She informs him that she's heard he was extremely rude to the girl. Her tone is firm as she reminds him of what she always tells him. With his gaze lowered, Pigeon quietly admits the lesson he is to be kind to everyone. She adds that he should also remember, actions have consequences. Without giving him a chance to respond, she orders him to go to the Halburn house immediately and offer a sincere apology. But it's her final words that leave him utterly distressed. She declares that until he is forgiven, he is banned from all desserts, including even a single piece of chocolate. On the other hand, Aurel sits alone eating a biscuit, thinking she cannot believe she is as fragile as a sunfish. She knew she was weak, but still, how could she collapse us from running a little? She thought there might be something she could do, some way to fix things. But now, a troubling thought creeps in. What if that idiot actually issued an expulsion order? Nearby, she overhears the maids whispering. They accuse her of doing it all for attention and pity Lord Mahan, a young man in his prime, and he's stuck with child care duties because of her. She says nothing. She's used to situations like this. She tried to sugarcoat it up front, but their backs told her the truth. It's no different from her past life here either. She just wanted to be loved by her mom. Meanwhile, Mahan sits worried in his study room. He didn't think raising a child would be this hard. Now he finds himself thinking if he should have been more attentive. Lady Arlyn Sigria Halburn was the daughter of his lord and he has raised her since she was little. And maybe that is the reason he cannot fully leave her in the hands of the nannies. He sees her in his mind again, small, fragile, reaching up to him with that tiny hand. He reminded himself he was just a guardian staying by her side for a while. He tried not to get too attached. He tried to draw a line, but in the end, what she needs is family. He looks back at the phone, wanting his useless master to pick it up. Dylan steps up next to him and says he's overthinking things. He explains to Lady Aurel, who has never even met the Grand Duke. Mahan probably feels more like family. Kids that age don't want jewels or crowns. What they want is the warmth of a caring guardian. There's a knock on the study door and when permission is given, the maid enters to announce that His Highness, the Crown Prince, has arrived. The news stuns Mahan. Later, he finds himself seated before the young prince, finally learning the truth, that her collapse had been caused entirely by him. With his gaze lowered, Pigeon quietly admits that he would like to see her, but Mahan refuses without hesitation, explaining that the physician has strictly ordered complete rest. The prince presents a box filled with various treasures, saying he at least wants to give this to her and then leave. Mahan thanks him for the gift but sends a sharp glare toward Graham, stating that the imperial family will need to provide House Halburn with a proper explanation and politely requests them to return for now. The crown prince turns to Graham, asking what he should do next, to which Graham gently replies that it's best to leave for now. But he goes deep in thought, before bolting up and insisting he must see her himself, commanding Graham to stall them in the meantime. Graham flinches and turns in alarm when Mahan repeats firmly that he told him to leave. Inwardly, Graham cries out, wondering what he's supposed to do about this mad dog. Meanwhile, Pigeon casts his gaze around the place. Something is off about this place. It is unusually quiet and it feels strangely vast and empty. The imperial palace always felt warm and gentle. But here, there is no warmth in the air. Only a chilling cold that lingers. But here there is no warmth in the air. He finds himself thinking if he can find her before he gets caught. He never thought she would really collapse. If he had known, he would have never made her run. His demeanor turns exhausted, thinking he just wants to say he's sorry. But then, he notices a door slightly ajar and pauses, curiosity piqued. What room is this? He wonders, slowly inching toward it. It doesn't look like a servant's room. As he pushes the door open, a soft light spills out and the scent of flowers drifts into the hallway. The room is filled with them, and there, standing quietly by the window, is her figure, bathed in light, watching the world outside, hair like sunlight melted into platinum, eyes the color of rose quartz. That pale, small porcelain face, it has to be her. She turns to him with mild surprise, her voice calm as she asks what brings him here. His lips part slightly, but no words come out. He closes them again, dropping his gaze, confused by the sudden quickening of his heartbeat. She calls out to him again, her voice gently pulling him back to the moment. He thinks he's just trying to apologize. Why is he so nervous? He blurts out he wanted to apologize. He didn't actually think she would collapse. Dropping his gaze, he promises to never do it again. She replies things like that happen. She's fine. She returns her back to him saying she knew she was going to collapse when she ran, so he doesn't need to worry about it. She then points out he snuck in, didn't he? He asks, was it that obvious? So she explains Mahan never would have allowed it, so she figured as much. She assures him she'll keep it a secret, but gently adds that he should leave now. She reminds him she still needs to rest, since she hasn't fully recovered yet. She guides him to the door rather briskly and shuts it firmly behind him. He stands there, stunned, trying to process what just happened. Did he just get thrown out? But he's the crown prince. Meanwhile, the head maid tells the other maid that the crown prince left the young lady's room, so she should go now. But she stops in her tracks when she spots Mahan lingering outside her door, a worried look clouding his face. The butler says that the timing couldn't be worse. Mahan has been unusually on edge lately. The maid wonders aloud why those two are acting so strangely today. She reminds herself that the young lady still needs to take her medicine on time. But then she startles. Mahan's expression is downright terrifying. She decides it's best to retreat for now. Meanwhile, Mahan remains rooted in place, Dylan's words echoing in his mind. Children at that age truly crave the warmth of a guardian. Doesn't he think the young lady sees him as more of a family member? He knows with his lord away, he's the only one who can protect her. A gentle warmth may be beyond him, but he can at least stay by her side. He steps into the room and asks Arel if everything is all right. She stares at him in surprise. Did he really sneak in? She quickly replies that nothing happened, but when he adjusts his glasses with a sharp, almost intimidating look, she panics and blurts out that she truly means it. Realizing the intensity of his expression, he pauses and apologizes. He did not mean to interrogate her. He then crouches down in front of her. She wonders why is he so flustered. Wasn't she just a burden to him, a burden he was forced to raise simply because his lord ordered him to? They're not family, nor do they share any kind of deep bond. They are merely a guardian and his ward. She states she's seeing him quite often these days and he's busy. He doesn't have to waste his time on her. She promises to stay quiet and be good as if she doesn't exist. Her words completely unsettle him. He insists that's not what he meant, but then rises to his feet. If that's what she wishes, then he'll respect it and leaves her alone. On his way back, his thoughts churn. Why is she so angry? He wonders. If he stays out of the way, can't she just ignore him? A bitter thought creeps in. Was he telling her to stop bothering so he doesn't have to act like a guardian? But he never wanted to make a child wear an expression like that. Later, the maid comes with her medicine. It is the medicine she has taken since she was a child. She doesn't know who created it, but it prevents her unpredictable seizures and outbursts and helps her body, ravaged by this illness, recover, if only just a little. She asks the maid where is Uni. She replies she was called to an urgent meeting, so she has come in her place. Now that she thinks about it, this maid is the only one who's always talking behind her back, and yet she's so prim and proper in front of her. She tells her she's finished, she can leave now. Finally, there is some peace and quiet. Graham, the Crown Prince Chamberlain, has been desperately wishing to resign lately, and the reason for this is that His Highness has recently become completely infatuated with Lady Halburn. He wonders why is she so frail. He also made everyone run to see if they would fall like her and told Graham that she bid him farewell before she left, believing it meant something. He kept asking about her, wanting to know what she was doing right now and ordering Graham to find out if her health had improved. With a beaming smile, Pigeon asks if she's coming to the gathering of childhood friends today. Graham smiles, saying her health has improved greatly, and she assured him she would be in attendance. But to his shock, she never came. He glanced at Graham, saying he put his faith in him. He is disappointed. Graham just wants to quit now. As he stands before his highness who demands to know if this is the best he can do, is even listening to him. In the end, the gathering of childhood friends concluded earlier than usual. The crown prince sits there wondering if it could be because of what he said about running last time. How can someone be so delicate? Then again, for her, who's like a little kitten, he supposed it is possible. A sudden look of sadness crosses his face. What if he never gets to see her again? The thought weighs heavily on him. He misses her. But then suddenly he stands, making Graham scared. He announces there's no reason he has to wait. If she cannot come, then he can just go to her. Cannot he? He stands outside the mansion's gate, calling out to the guard with clear impatience, demanding what he's waiting for and to open the door at once. Graham hesitates, offering a nervous smile as he asks whether he should announce his highness's visit. The crown prince gives a small nod, but then pauses, an idea forming in his mind. Perhaps it would be better to surprise her. Surely, she would appreciate that more. Without another word, he changes course. Declaring a sudden change of plans, he rushes inside before Graham can stop him. Graham watches helplessly from behind, nearly in tears, just hoping he won't cause trouble. As the prince strides down the familiar hallway, he frowns trying to recall the way. It should be this direction, yet something feels off. The atmosphere in the mansion is unsettled. It used to feel lonely and cold, but this time the air feels strangely tense, as if it had an edge. His attention is caught by two maids passing nearby, whispering to one another. One of them laughs quietly, scoffing about how the girl had looked, telling her to leave quickly after giving her the medicine. It was absurd. That girl thinks like she's someone important. Another joins in, remarking that without Lord Mahan, the girl is nothing, just a half-blood trying to play a noble. The prince stops mid-step, stunned by what he hears. Graham covers his ears, but he brushes his hand aside, intent on hearing more. Unaware of their audience, the maid continues, saying that even if the girl is half noble, what does it matter? She questions how many people the girl thinks she has to lean on, especially when she dares treat Lord Mahan so coldly. Without him, she would already be finished. The maid adds she's completely useless. Everyone knows she's going to die soon and she doesn't even know her place. Then comes the prince's voice, cutting through the air like a blade as he demands to know who exactly doesn't know their place. The maids freeze, blood draining from their faces. Only then do they realize who stands behind them. Graham immediately steps forward and commands them to kneel and show respect, reminding them in a firm tone that this is not someone they can afford to look down on. They fall to their knees at once, trembling with fear. One of them dares to ask what the matter is. The prince says do. They think they have the right to question. He is the one asking. He is curious about the conversation they were having just now. He wants to know who is the one that doesn't know their place. Malice born with the intent to hurt someone, to demean them, faced with such ugliness like nothing Pigeon had ever seen before. Without even understanding why, his chest got cold. He wondered, was that what it felt like to be angry? He points out just a moment ago they were speaking so freely. Why are they silent now? Did their tongues get cut? The maid realizes this is getting out of hand and if it keeps going out like this. But her thoughts are interrupted when Menad shows up and demands why is His Highness the Crown Prince here. His gaze then falls on the maid and he asks what kind of commotion is this. Both maids begin to cry out in panic, their voices trembling. One of them suddenly spots Arel standing in the crowd and rushes toward her, dropping to her knees and pleading for forgiveness. The other quickly follows, both of them sobbing as they beg for mercy. The Crown Prince demands to know if they truly believe that begging now will change anything, questioning whether they still not understand the situation. He reminds them that they had called Arel an idiot and a half-person inside her own mansion. Standing nearby, Mahan remains silent, a shadow of sadness flickering across his face. Arel, to everyone's surprise, calmly states so what. One of the maids looks up at her in disbelief and hesitantly asks if such treatment had happened to her before. Arel responds with a yes. The maid then questions why she never said anything. Arel believes it wasn't like what they said was a lie at last. Mahan steps forward and orders the others to return to their duties. As for the two maids, he commands they be taken to the estate prison. He will handle their interrogation personally. The Crown Prince suddenly rushes to Arel's side and asks if she has been well. She should have stayed in her room. She didn't think something this annoying would be in the hallway. He fires question after question, asking whether she's been in good health, if she's improved at all since then, and if standing for so long is putting too much strain on her body. She just responds with what brings him here. He admits he came to the hospital to visit and she didn't come to the meeting, so he thought she would be sick, which makes it even stranger. From the start, the lively him and the weaker had nothing in common to become friends. She wonders what change of heart made him come visit her at the hospital. Arel admits he's cute, but right now she doesn't have the mental peace to enjoy that cuteness. She thanks him for getting angry in her place. He says it was nothing. He thinks he got involved where he shouldn't have, but he couldn't just stand by. She thanks him again but lets him know next time she will handle it herself because she could put him in a difficult position. He finally asks was he being too bold. She thinks yes and replies no. She offers an apology and once again begins to thank him for today, but her vision blurs and a wave of dizziness crashes over her. She tries to steady herself, adding that under normal circumstances, she would have offered him a glass of juice, but with the house so unsettled and her condition worsening, she thinks it's best to see him off here. Graham gently starts to guide the prince away while the crown prince calls back over his shoulder, urging her to take care of herself. Her maid asks if she's feeling tired and offers to help her get ready for bed. But before she can respond, the dizziness returns stronger this time and she drops to the ground. Mahan asks the head steward does he really need to concern himself with matters like this? Steward can only offer an apology. He retorts of course he should be sorry. Does he understand how much today's incident has tarnished the name of Halburn? Steward assures him he will take full responsibility and resolve the matter personally. He tells him he better handle it cleanly. He would like to keep him around for a long time. Even if it was due to Lady Arel's sudden change in attitude, it is true that he has been too shaken lately. His nerves have become overly sensitive and the atmosphere in the estate has become unsettled. The fact that he tried to be mindful of the young lady ended up making her overhear something she never should have. The door bursts open as Dylan rushes in, urgency etched across his face. Mahan looks up, saying he hasn't even started eating and calmly asks what's wrong. Dylan announces that Lady Arel has collapsed. The words hit Mahan like a strike to the chest, freezing him for a moment before he bombards Dylan with questions. Should they contact the mage tower? Wouldn't it be wise to summon the temple? Has the physician been called yet? On the other hand, the maid notes that Lady Arel is already showing signs of seizure. Without wasting another second, Mahan rushes to her room and pushes the door open, demanding to know her condition. The maid inside stammers that she doesn't know Lady Arel was standing one moment, then collapsed and now she is seizing. He asks what the attending physician is doing. She reveals he examined her earlier and now he is going to prepare some medicine. He said tonight might be difficult. He holds his forehead and asks why the seizure happened so suddenly. The physician said it could have been due to excessive psychological stress from today or an underlying condition might have triggered it. She further adds the young lady was only fine because of the medication. Her health has never been good. This catches her attention and he quickly asks if he took her medicine. She replies that she did, but then suddenly turns and runs out of the room, asking for a moment, leaving him confused by her sudden exit. Just then, Arel stirs and calls out for her mother. He turns to her abruptly, startled as she repeats the call again. The beginning of that old nightmare is always the same. The grand piano, the violin that ends up in her hands before she knows it. Her mom was a beautiful and talented woman and she was the daughter who resembled her exactly. Her mother had only one wish. She wanted her daughter to be the best. She told her she believed in her, that she would be able to fulfill her mother's dream. But as she stood on the stage, her voice wouldn't come out. She wondered what kind of expression her mom made. Why did she treat her like that? What was she to her? She found herself finally asking if she even loved her. All the countless words she couldn't bring herself to say. Like she missed her or she didn't want her to leave her alone. She ran after her, wondering was she being left alone again like this in this awful, horrific darkness. When she awakens, she finds herself cradled in Mahan's arms. His voice reaches her softly, telling her it's all right now. The steady warmth of his embrace eases her and sleep pulls her under once more. Later, he places her gently back on the bed and finds himself holding her hand, something he instinctively did. He wonders with what kind of heart is she calling out for a mother she has never even seen. He realizes she missed her so much but wonders was there really no one in this vast mansion that she could say she missed them to. If that is the case, he is there for her. The next morning, she slowly blinks her eyes open and rubs them, gaze drifting upward. A quiet word slips from her lips, "Mom." But it's Mahan sitting there, eyes heavy with exhaustion. He replies he is afraid he is not her mother. They both blink at each other and then he asks if she is feeling alright. Once again, she calls out mother. He states he is a man actually. But then tears fill her eyes and she repeats mother. He thinks children truly are unfathomable beings. On the day Duke first brought the child home, the public's dark curiosity was directed elsewhere. They all wondered who could this child's mother possibly be. Some whispered she was the daughter of a harlot. Others speculated she was an illegitimate child of noble blood hidden from scandal. But one thing was certain. She bore the blood of Halburn, for this Halburn guardian stone, which reacts only to blood kin, resonated clearly with Arel. They realized the child was undeniably the Duke's but wondered who was the mother. At last, They speculated maybe she was the result of true love. But the Duke of Halburn being in love, that had to be the most absurd sentence Mahan had ever heard. Whatever, he couldn't care less about his boss' private life. But that is just him. He knows the child must have felt differently. Surely the one at the center of all those rumors must have wondered about her parents, and yet shockingly, not once has she asked about her mother. He always thought she would ask one day. He even had model answers prepared just in case. But the child has never asked a single question about her parents. And at some point, it all just started to feel so natural even he stopped questioning it. He thought maybe she really wasn't curious. That's what he kept telling himself. But maybe he was wrong. Maybe she wasn't indifferent, just holding it on all this time. On the other hand, she is certain that she woke up from that nightmare and yet her throat is tight. The words just won't come out. She didn't mean to put Mahan in such an awkward spot. Once again, she calls him mom. He finally gives up, letting her call him whatever she wants. Does the title even matter at this point? It feels strange to Arel. The Mahan she knows would have cast him aside. Without hesitation, she finally blurts out he doesn't like her. He says that is not true. Why would someone like him have any reason to hate her? She calls him a liar. He insists it is not a lie. She looks down and murmurs in a soft voice, didn't he just want her gone, just pushed aside? He tries to come with an answer, but falls silent and then slowly caresses her head. She cries out that she is an orphan. She doesn't know who her parents are. She has never seen their faces. She doesn't even know if they abandoned her or if they are dead. She says she never had anyone to care for her, and as for love, she doesn't even understand what that word really means. He admits with honesty, even now he still doesn't know how to handle her. But that never meant he wanted to cast her aside. It is all because of his shortcomings. He thought even if he couldn't raise her well, he could at least raise her without liking anything. He was naive, but she assures him he did nothing wrong. He asks if she is forgiving him. She repeats he did nothing wrong. He says so she's not forgiving him. But then without warning, she mumbles mom, catching him off guard. She says to call himself mom if he's really sorry. He argues he's a man though, but she then grabs his sleeve, calling him mom. He exclaims biologically that might be a stretch, but he will do his best. The Mahan she knows is logical, rational. He's not the kind of person who indulges childish whims like this. She cannot believe it, but just for a moment, she likes his answer. She ends up smiling, making him remark it is a good sight. She should smile like that more often. Later, as the attending physician channels healing energy over her, Mahan turns to the maid and asks what exactly happened. She admits someone stole the medicine. The day the young lady was supposed to take her marriage, Lord Mahan was around, so she didn't get it. She forgot the next day because she stayed up all night, but another maid said she delivered it. Turns out that maid was one of the ones who caused the commotion yesterday. By the time she went to confirm, she was already dead in the prison. He asks the cause of death. They say she unalived herself. However, he believes that is not the case. He then asks what about the stolen medicine? Any trace? She admits they haven't found it. He decides for now they will treat it as a self-attempt and move on, and then asks if someone else knows about it. She replies no one else. He wants her to keep it that way and focus entirely on the young lady's health. His expressions harden. He cannot believe they dared to pull something like this in his estate. The doctor then informs her she's much better. Her heart rate is normal and her manner reaction is normal. They still need to observe her father, but this level of improvement is amazing. She also seems much more psychologically stable. The doctor finally asks what on earth did he do? He replies he didn't really do anything specific other than staying by her side constantly these past few days. At last he admits, however, the worrying thing is, as time goes on, her body seems to be getting weaker and weaker. He begins to say at this rate, but is sharply stopped by Mahan. He apologizes. Mahan tells him there's nothing for the attending physician to apologize for, but he should pay even more attention to her health. Mahan knows it is a miracle that she can still speak and move around, and that is why he hoped his lord would show his face just once. Later, he sits next to her again and tells her she will be able to eat whatever she wants for dinner tonight. She exclaims, really? That is a relief. He stares at her for a moment before asking if he can hold her hand. This catches her off guard, but then she beams at him and places her hand in his. He thinks it is a good thing he realized without further delay that he's supposed to take care of her, and promises himself to raise her well. At that moment, in Imperial Palace, childhood friends gathering, Pigeon is zoning out. Everyone looks confused. His Highness's condition today couldn't be worse because he received the letter that informed she has collapsed, so it seems visiting today will be difficult. He thinks to himself, how can someone collapse so often? Is her body made of glass? And if she's still sick and suffering right now? The friends urge each other to go and ask him, but no one is willing to. But then the twins approach him, asking why is he so down. However, Without bothering to even look at them, he issues the order to leave. He's not in the mood to play with them right now. One of the twins teases what kind of mood is it if he's not in the mood to play with them. The other says a mood where he's not in the mood to play with them. Then he admits actually he has a concern. They both are eager to hear it out. He explains a few days ago he went to visit someone in the hospital, so can he go again now? The twin says it doesn't really matter if he wants to visit, he can just go again. Graham's face falls at his advice. He suddenly rises up, apologizing and saying he will be going now, he has something to do, and on his way orders Graham to follow. The twins look at each other with mischievous eyes, wondering who is he visiting. When the door opened, there was that one who knocked her down first and then pretended to care. The bright, cheerful devil was there. He bombarded her with questions, asking if she's sick, if she collapsed, and if she normally collapses that much. Aurel feels like she's going to be exorcised because of his overwhelming positive energy. He then panics, noting she looks pale, and asks what is wrong. Did he do something wrong again? Is she sick somewhere? She counters, isn't today the day for the childhood friends gathering? He says that is right, she remembered. She hesitates before asking why is he here. He explains he heard she collapsed, so he came out midway to visit the Crown Prince, the most popular person in Albrecht and a man of power, showing interest in her while neglecting others. He must have become today's chewing gum. She questions, aside from visiting, is there anything else? He says no, there is not. She asks again, then why did he come? He thinks over her words before answering because he missed her. She pauses before saying if he's constantly worried because he thinks her collapsing is his fault. He doesn't have to be. He shoots back, how can he not? It is because of him. He announces he will take care of her until she's healthy. She clenches her fist, thinking as expected, she doesn't get along with the Crown Prince. It's obvious he will carelessly scatter goodwill and affection, make her yearn for it and then disappear. She has no intention of being fooled by fleeting affection. It might be a thing for some, but for her, where even breathing once is a luxury, being swayed by someone is out of the question. She believes he's still young, so it is probably just a passing interest. He then asks if she always stays in her room like this. She responds she likes to stay still in her room. He repeats she likes to stay still with a tilt of his head. He then tries to sit still but ends up wiggling in his seat, making her think he cannot sit still for even a second. A small smile comes over her lips. He quickly points out that she smiled. It feels like this is the first time she smiled. She says, is that so? She thinks what could be so good in that and says she really doesn't understand, making him ask what. So she says it's nothing. On the other hand, the royal left arm and guardian knight of Herrenberg's Muivisk of Zarenberg greets him through the screen. He replies he also needs to rest as he hasn't fully recovered yet, and then asks why isn't His Highness here and why is he here instead. Zaren says His Highness had to go repair the front lines because there was a mass casualty incident. He then asks if something happened, but Mahan says nothing, but he insists he should tell him, seeing how persistently he has been contacting him lately. It must be important. This time, he promises to stake his knight's honor on delivering it. He finally relents and tells Zaren to pass along a message to His Highness that he is the world's most absolute piece of trash father. Zaren begins to respond with a casual, all right, he will let him know, but then the words register. And he exclaims, wait, seriously? But the connection cuts off before he can finish, leaving Mahan sighing in relief. The childcare team is made up of 4 to 5 core members. Uni, the head maid with comprehensive medical knowledge. Albert, the head maid in charge of meals. Rena, the education specialist who designs the curriculum professionally. And Ern, a former knight who now protects her during outings. Since they are all experts, she has never once thought the child care team was lacking. But now she is forced to wonder what's up with these people. He asks them if they all ate something weird today. They exclaim she finally spoke to them. She thinks if they've all gone collectively mad or something. She picks up the books declaring she is going to read. But Ern now pulls it back, saying she doesn't have to read. What she needs is sunshine and purity. She should experience more of the brightness of the outside world. She says she doesn't want to go outside, prompting him to ask why not. She states because she simply doesn't want to. Rena admits while she was unconscious they did a lot of soul searching, and now wonders if they were too focused on professionalism to truly understand her heart. They want these feelings to reach her. From now on, they will show her a completely different side of themselves. Suddenly Mahan appears behind her, asking what is the meaning of this. She blurts out they just want to grow closer to her. He leans down and gently asks if they had been bothering her, but before he can finish, she tugs at his pants and softly calls him Mom. The word stuns everyone into silence. All eyes turn to them. Later, the group gathers in hushed clusters, whispering among themselves. One of them brings up an old rumor that the young lady is the result of a forbidden love between Sir Mahan and His Highness. Yuni points out wasn't that the rumor with the least credibility that eventually got buried? But Ern says, now that he thinks about it, she and Sir Mahan have a similar aura. Mahan, listening to them, tells them to quit the nonsense. And that she just called out for her mother. Rena covers her mouth in shock. Is he trying to take her mother's place and seize all the estate's assets? He questions if she has forgotten that he manages every last one of them. Before leaving, he shoots her a glare over his shoulder and tells her to make sure nothing like this happens again. She looks hesitant as she points out that when he reconciles with her, they will be left behind. They just want to be closer to her as well. He mutters whatever, it's not his problem so they should deal with it themselves. But the ones who are supposed to be taking care of her shouldn't be making things harder for her. Ern says he already reconciled with her so he wouldn't understand how they feel. In his study room, Mahan wonders if they were always like that, but still there's no one he trusts more than them. Ever since she began to recover, anyone among the estate staff deemed untrustworthy was swiftly removed. The already secured mansion has been inspected time and again. For days now, all efforts have been focused solely on her safety and well-being. He thinks it is exhausting. If only they would have been through from the start. But then he corrects himself. If only the Duke hadn't stirred up all this trouble in the first place. Once again he gets angry at the Duke even venting once didn't vent his anger. He sent that message half in impulse, and the reply came almost immediately. The Duke asked if he was asking to be fired, calling him a brat. He replied he could fire him if he liked. He was retiring anyway. It seems Jaren delivered the message with the full honor of a knight. The pigeon delivers another letter. The Duke says he won't dismiss him, let his disloyalty be paid for through his own flesh. Mahan wonders if this man is for real. The weekly childhood friends gathering has resumed and this time the Crown Prince seems to be rather in a good mood today. He even arrived much earlier than usual. Pigeon keeps looking at the door, thinking she'll come soon. Another girl walks in, and he wonders if she'll be the next one to appear. The girl exclaims was he waiting for her? He replies no. He just had a feeling she would come in right after that girl. That faint, hesitant step sounded so much like hers but it wasn't her. His face grows tense with worry. Is she skipping again today? If she doesn't show up, he will start visiting her every single day. But then, footsteps echo in the place. She appears, and the moment he sees her, a smile spreads across his face. He rushes over and welcomes her warmly. She wonders what's gotten into him. At the table, he eagerly urges her to try every snack. As she eats, she silently wonders how things ended up like this. All she thought was that staying home would mean being constantly pestered by the childcare team. And it is not like this world has Netflix or anything. At least there are web tools and web novels. Since he has already fallen into a romance fantasy world, she figured she might as well enjoy front row seats to the genre. He watches her closely, wondering what's on her mind while she blames him for all of this. She thought it was just a passing curiosity but he has been on her mind way too long. He points towards the snacks again and asks if she's not going to eat. She says she really cannot eat this much. One more bite and she will die. She has to survive this torture by food. Whatever. She just decides to wing it and go with whatever works. She smiles and tells him to have some too. He has barely eaten while taking care of her. He takes the snacks from her hand, looking at her with star eyes. She's an angel. He starts eating because she gave it to him. She thinks he's so simple-minded that is what has saved her. Later she reads a book. He questions if she already learned all the characters. She thinks she sort of picked them up naturally, so she wouldn't say she learned them exactly so it's better to just make something up. She tells him she studied really hard. The others watch them asking what is with her, if they know her. The girls question what on earth did she do to get His Highness so flustered. The jealous whispers from kids filled with envy and the ones who linger around hoping for even a flicker of attention. It is moments like these that remind one just how popular the Crown Prince really is. She always thought he was just a happy-go-lucky puppy but when he is not smiling, he actually looks pretty sharp. Whatever the author had in mind, now that she thinks about it, he is quite a rare type of male lead. Isn't the standard Rofan for male lead usually all obsession, arrogance and dukedom and regret? Well, he is going to drift away from her soon anyway and end up with the heroine, so it doesn't really matter. Unless the twist is that she has reincarnated and he ends up with her. She quickly tells herself to drop that delusion and get it together. Suddenly, he speaks, asking her to call him by his name. She looks up at him, surprised. At first she starts with Prince but he gently corrects her pigeon. She hesitates, then blurts out His Highness but he insists again, even spelling it out for her. Her gaze drops but after a pause, she finally murmurs his name. A bright smile spreads across his face, filled with genuine joy. Sometime later, she's finally heading home, having barely convinced him not to escort her. But as she turns a corner, a group of people steps into her path. One of them informs her Her Majesty the Empress is requesting her presence. After unifying all the kingdoms on the central continent, the great nation reborn as an empire, Albrahit Empire. This place is home to countless famous figures, but the most famous of them all is Empress Azini. Possessing beauty so stunning she received proposals from every powerful figure of her time and wisdom equal to that of a sovereign. Not only the citizens of the empire, even she liked Empress Azini Peshin's upright and righteous personality must be thanks to her upbringing. The Empress asks her if the journey to here was tiring. Aurel responds that it was not tiring. The Empress mentions that the view was so beautiful today, so she invited her to this place as it's a place the Empress loves dearly. The Empress tells Aurel that she heard from the maids that she worked hard again today. Aurel responds that she is full thanks to Peshin, but maybe she'll have a taste. Her Confucian girl instincts got activated, waiting for the adult to pick up their spoon first. The Empress laughs, stating that she looked so cute, worrying that she accidentally laugh, and tells her to not mind and eat all that she likes. The Empress asks if this is the first time being alone like this, as she was so tiny the first time they met, then says that she probably doesn't remember as she was so young. Aurel thinks, what should one do when something they don't know comes up in a conversation? She then believes they should stay completely still. The Empress states that she was adorable then too, but she has grown even cuter now, telling her that she resembles that child so much. Aurel thinks about which child, wondering what is the Empress talking about. She wonders if there is something between the Empress and her biological father. She knows that never came up in the novel. The Empress questions if she has something that she wants to ask her, as it seems like she does. Aurel questions if she can know why the Empress summoned her. The Empress states if she says she just wanted to see her, would that be confusing? She seems confused, to which the Empress finds her cute and tells her to not worry. She tells Aurel that she called her here to apologize for her careless son causing her trouble. The Empress mentions that he said he apologized properly, but she is sure he only made things worse. Before leaving, she mentions that even though she is her son, he is so energetic and takes after His Majesty. She wishes he were just half like Thurion or Sirua. The Empress offers her more sweets, telling her to try them as they're more delicious. Aurel ponders that the more they talk, the more she is being incredibly kind and affectionate, as if she really likes her. It's too obvious to pretend she didn't notice. She wonders about her reaction, thinking she hasn't even done anything. The Empress mentions that she heard she has trouble getting along with other children, asking Aurel if they are bullying her. She responds that is not the case and that she is naturally weak and cannot keep up very well. The Empress tells her that if anything ever happens, she shouldn't hesitate to ask her for help. Aurel seems to be taken aback. Did Her Majesty say she will be her backing? Aurel asks her Empress if it would be okay if she left the childhood friends group. The Empress tells her that is not allowed. Aurel thinks that she just said to ask for help if something was wrong. The Empress asks her if something is wrong, questioning if she isn't being secretly bullied, right? She responds that nothing is wrong, while pondering it's her son who is the actual problem. The Empress tells her it's good to hear she doesn't have any problem and asks if there is any other request. She asks her Empress why did she put her in this group in the first place. She has always wondered. She's the only remaining bloodline of Halburn, but she isn't exactly a genius or anything. It's not even certain she will inherit the house. Why bother putting her in the Crown Prince's childhood friends group? The Empress asks if she was curious about that. She mentions that the reason she invited her to the group is, after a few days on the day of the childhood friends meeting. Aurel thinks that it's only twice a week, but it feels way more frequent. She feels exhausted. For her delicate goldfish body, 2 outings a week is torture, and no matter how cold she acts, Peshin is still way too interested in her. Aurel ponders that she just wants to leisurely watch this romance fantasy play out from the front row. It's annoying, exhausting and tiring. That's why she wanted to get out of this childhood friends group, but the Empress told her that the reason she put her in this friends group is a secret. She thinks that if the Empress was going to say that, she shouldn't have made it so dramatic. She thinks about the Empress's eyes, knowing they seem to be remembering something, as if she saw someone else in her, as if she was projecting her onto someone else. She thinks that there really is something between Duke Halburn and Empress Azini. She thinks that her dumb intuition has finally figured something out. Noelle and Seal calls out to her. She tries to flee but realizes she has to face them. They tell her that she came early today and asks her what is she thinking. She asks for their name again. They ask if she has forgotten their names again before they introduce their names. They tell her that everyone calls them the Angel Twins, making Aurel ponder that they are more like the Devil Twins. They then ask her for their names. She notices the younger one by 5 minutes was Noelle. They tell her that she better not forget their names again. She tells them her name is Aurel while they still get it wrong. She mentions that at least they should get her last name right. They ask her if it is true that she faints if she runs. They ask her if they can see. She wonders if she is a circus act. They give her their allowance. 1 platinum coin is equivalent to 1,000 gold coins, as expected of the Spherum family who control the empire's wealth. Their spending is wild. She is told that the coin is very valuable and asks her if they should give her more. She mentions that even if they give her 100 of those she isn't running, so they should put it away. They think that she is rude while she ponders that they look totally normal from the outside but inside they're actual demons. She stares at them as they ask her if she fell for them, as they are pretty, right? Also adding cute and adorable. They tell her that they will let her touch their eyelashes and cheeks. She thinks that she knows this pattern. When the other person blushes and gets flustered, they grab you and tease you to death. Even Satan would applaud. She doesn't give them a reaction. They then look at each other, making her wonder what if that ominous look in their eyes. She can feel it as a sign that life is about to get harder. She realizes that she needs to get out of here. She tells them to go away already or move if they're not leaving. They step closer as she tells them to move. They tell her that she is the first person to be this cold to them. They ask her if this is part of her plan to get their attention. They say that she is so cute and adorable. She thinks that she wishes to get stronger than she never wanted to before, but now she does. Normally this is where a mysterious being whispers. Does one desire power? Right then the crown prince steps in front of her, yelling at the twins to get away. Our female lead is stunned as she internally notes how this is Pigeon. She thinks about how she's never been so relieved to see Pigeon ever, and wonders if this is what they mean by a prince on a white horse. Pigeon continues to tell the two brothers to stop already and how Arlen clearly does not like that. Our female lead thinks about how Pigeon is the best and to keep scolding those two. The two brothers coldly stare in silence as they then ask His Highness what he is talking about. They walk over and hold Arlen, saying that she clearly likes them. They ask her if that's right, as she thinks about how she does not care but just wants to be left alone. The brothers then ask if His Highness is the one lying and just wants to keep Arlen all to himself. He questions what they mean, as they start to speak about how he's feeling guilty now and how His Evil Highness's plan has been exposed. Our female lead then starts to sneak out, noting how the brothers' target has changed, and she mourns for His Highness. She then looks over puzzled as someone else walks into the frame. It's the boy with dark hair and blue eyes. The two stare face to face for a moment, as the argument behind her seems to end with a, "Let's just Arlen to settle this." Our female lead is alarmed, as the brothers then tell her to choose, asking if she wants to play with them, or if she will be playing with Pigeon. Our female lead wonders what those three even spoke about for the argument to end so soon. She then grabs the other boy's shirt and says that she wants to be with Lord Haroon and play. Pigeon and the twins all look at her astonished. One of them mentions how they did not see this coming. As said before, our female lead is just an extra in the original story, and that Halburn was one of the 5 ducal houses and held many secrets. So it's also true that they wield the greatest power, but if anything ever happens, they would also be blamed as the ones behind it. They are unlike all the other houses who show power with special abilities or political influence. They operate more as background characters, but right now, Pigeon tells her to try this as he presents a cake. Ever since the crown prince got involved with her, the twins who are from the Duke of Spherum also tell her to try their dessert. Heirs of the 5 ducal houses are the pillars of the empire. The Duke of Mwevisk stares in silence. All the major characters are getting tangled up with her, and she wonders if this is even okay. Yet there is a reason that she chose this child. Harrenberg Mwevisk serves as the crown prince's protector and is the second male lead in the story. She stares at his face, now understanding why the heroine Claire had a one-sided crush on him. The twins ask why she is staring at Haroon so much and if she likes him that much. This causes Haroon to react as Arlen notes how these kids keep messing everything up. She does feel sorry for Haroon since he's gonna be that definitive Duke of the Northern second male lead type character. What makes a second male lead? The steadfast love, someone warm like a rice bowl, but stands quietly in the shadows like a solid pillar, supporting the heroine. Basically someone that is reliable and won't cause drama. He's her hope and the one who can take care of the little devils and the crown prince. Someone then tells Arlen to come and try this. Our female lead thinks about how this is Haroon's chance to step in and save her from this madness. She turns to look at him, beckoning for his assistance. He stares in silence as she notes how he noticed her cries. He then offers her a treat himself. Our female lead internally yells that's not what she meant, and how she just wants to be saved from this madness. Pigeon then walks in between the pair in rage. He tells Arlen that this dessert tastes even better. Haroon turns his head away as Arlen notes how the cold guy turned into a pitiful soft boy. He not only did not catch her signal but he's a total cinnamon roll. The twins then start to call out how His Highness was checking on Haroon, as Pigeon continues to get more enraged. The twins talk about how jealous the crown prince got and how he's clearly trying to hog Arlen all for himself. Our female lead thinks about how the mission has failed and trying to escape with the second male lead was never going to work. The three continue to argue about the situation as the twins tell His Highness he is getting mad and blushing. Our female lead thinks about how she's stuck in this inescapable hell of cuteness and chaos. The twins then say how they're sure Arlen agrees. Our female lead seems so tired of this popularity contest, as she notes how this is far too much attention for an extra. It's later during night time at the estate, as we then see Mahan asking if something is the matter. She tells him a lot has happened. As she hugs Mahan, she notes the scent of dried wood and how her nerves are finally starting to settle again. She thinks about how this man has raised her since she was a newborn, and that even if she awakens her past memories, her memories as Arlin, will not disappear. Mahan never asks her for anything, and he simply offers comfort. He is truly the only person she can lean on. She calls Mom and tells him to hug her. He questions what she said, but then picks her up and embraces her. He asks if something happened at the childhood friend hangout, as the maids watch in anguish. Our female lead recalls the situation. Pigeon with puppy eyes, the troublesome twins, and the no-help Haroon. All in all, nothing too serious had actually happened. Mahan tells Arlin to tell him anything freely, and if she's sure nothing happened. She continues to ponder, before Mahan then mentions how he seems to not have gained her trust yet. She tells him that's not it and thinks about how explaining it all is just hard. She then asks him if she can skip the gathering this time. Everyone in the room is stunned, as Mahan asks if she does not want to go. All the servants try to protest this, as this is Erilin's only social schedule. Our female lead thinks about how he clearly won't approve of this, and thinks about how the childhood friends gathering is under the Empress's orders. Mahan then speaks up saying she does not have to go. He tells her that if she does not want to, then that's all that matters. Leave the reasoning up to him. Our female lead holds more tightly to him, noting how this can't be easy for him to say. But this is what being an adult looks like. A reliable guardian that she never had. Not even once. She then yells Mom again while hugging him. All the servants stare in silence, thinking about how Mahan will monopolize the lady and how it's time for them to show the strength of the childcare squad. They decide to do everything to win over the lady's favor. The day would then arrive again, for the long-awaited childhood friends gathering. Our female lead smiles as she notes how she has not even taken a single step out of bed today. She thinks about how nice it is not going out and how Mahan had kept her promise. It flashbacks to him saying that the lady needs some rest, and how Mahan sent an official letter telling the imperial palace that she will be absent due to being unwell. Our female lead thinks about how Mahan is the best and practically her mom. She thinks about the cozy bed and the warm sunlight. This lighting and temperature, humidity. Everything is just perfect right now. A maid then calls to Lady Arlin, asking if she is truly alright. Our female lead thinks about how everything was perfect except for these people. She looks away saying she is fine. The maid asks if they can watch over the lady, and how they won't even do a thing. Arlin says she is fine and for them to just get out. The other maid calls Arlin mean, as our female lead thinks about how she's had enough of these new clingers from the imperial palace. She can't even get a moment's peace in her own home. She then starts to walk off as they stare. She tells them she is busy and to please not follow her. The maids are stunned as this is a shocking declaration from a 7-year-old. Our female lead decides to leave so she can find some peace as the maids tell her to wait. They mention how she should have told them if she has somewhere to be. Someone then mentions how after Mahan, they are the one with most of the young lady's favor. Another maid argues how they're the one responsible for the young lady's health, as another one questions if that maid failed to bring medicine on time. As they bicker, one mentions how they are all wasting time and should go find the lady instead. Our female lead stares from the corner noting how she knew they would not listen after being told to not follow. Things had been relatively peaceful until recently, but this place is becoming more and more like a war zone by the day. She then turns as someone is standing right behind her. It is Ern, the head escort butler. He speaks about how the young lady has bestowed her attention on him, as she notes how this dude is from the childcare group as well. Ern tells her he will not make a disgraceful scene, and he's content with serving and protecting her from the shadows. She then realizes how he hasn't really bothered her. He then goes on a rant about how they should not be harsh on the childcare group and how they're determined to do better, and that they'll never leave the lady alone and have made a blood oath to assist her more perfectly. He then bows and says they will ensure nothing like this ever happens to her again. He tells her to not worry, as she wonders if the incident with the maids bad-mouthing her was such a big deal. Being talked about behind her back was a common occurrence and she wonders what happened to those maids, and if Mahan kicked them out. She has not seen them once since. Ever since that day, it felt like that was the very beginning. Everyone in the mansion has been so kind to her. It's like no one who would disrespect her existed here at all, and how she was never alone for even a moment after waking up. The servants mention how from now on they will make it so that she only has a reason to smile. She then realizes how Mahan and the childcare group were all worried that she might have been hurt, and that they're pouring all their energy into watching over her. A maid then yells how they've spotted Arlin. They cry her name as she wonders if they're being serious right now. She does appreciate the concern, so she might as well play along for a little while. We later see her exhausted, as this was just as draining as the childhood friend gathering. They stuck with her for all 3 meals, and during snack time, they mentioned saying they'd only give her a reason to smile. She notes how this cannot go on, and how she barely was able to escape the imperial palace, and how she's gonna die of stress before illness at this point. The childcare group is half-made and they won't listen to reason at this point. She then wonders about Mahan, but recalls how Mahan is always busy and she should not bother them. She then decides in that case, she has no choice but to use her last resort. The maids all gather to read a paper saying there's gonna be an urgent announcement in the drawing room. They note how it looks like Arlin wrote it. The maid then calls to her as she asks if everyone has gathered. She then turns and shows them another piece of paper. She tells them this is known as a praise chart and it comes with well done stickers. She tells them that starting today, she will give stickers to whoever she wants. This is the only way to bring peace to the house. All the childcare people think about how this is the lady's favor. She then gives them all a chart as they note how the lady put their names on it. She mentions how if they do well they get this well done sticker. These types of things are not mainstream yet, so they're perfect for the job. Mahan then asks what everyone is doing. He walks in the room as Arlin calls to him. She mentions thinking he was busy, to which he says he still has time to look in on things. He asks what all this is about. He then asks if the childcare group bothered her, to which Arlin says she is doing this because she wants to. She then puts a sticker on him as she mentions how Mahan gets this just for existing. He starts to be taken aback by this. She tells him this is how to use it, as Mahan says he understands. The others note how Mahan already has a sticker and how they're jealous. A few days would pass, and we see our female lead noting the tranquility and how it's been so long. She notes how the chart is now a popular fixture and the house is peaceful again. Even Mahan calms down when getting a sticker. She wonders if he actually wants them and notes how at least she has no more worries. The door then slowly opens. Our female lead is unaware, as someone then steps forward. Our female lead wonders why the silence, as someone then yells they are here. The prince then yells Arlen's name out loud. Earlier we see the prince questioning if Arlen won't be here today as well. Graham mentions how the Halburn's butler delivered the message saying she is unwell. Pigeon mentions how Arlen said the same thing last time. It flashes back to when he kept waiting for her and how he ignored all the other kids asking to play. He thinks about how something like this has never happened before and how he wants to see her. His butler says she is sick and how he cannot say this to someone who is unwell. Graham thinks about how this might be good, since things were already getting tense since the crown prince only had eyes for Arlen, especially with all the other young lords around them. He thinks about how this should ease things up as Graham mentions how the prince could mingle with the other girls. Graham then notes how it's too late and the prince has entered the state where nothing they say comes through now. Pigeon thinks about how she seemed fine last time and how they might never see her again if she keeps skipping like this. He will not let that happen. He thinks about how they don't even need to be doing anything special, and how just being in the same space with her makes everything more fun. He wants to see her, maybe even now she's staring out the window in loneliness. He knows she likes being alone, but he does not want to leave her like that. When she's alone, it feels like she will vanish somewhere. He calls to Graham and asks what loneliness is. The male lead thinks about how he wants to see Arlen appear before his eyes. Arlen can't come here right now, so in that case. Our female lead later asks if that is why His Highness came here by himself. He tells her yes and how he's visiting the sick. She thinks about how this is a stupid excuse. She notes how she's lost the will and energy now. She wonders what is the point if the root of the problem came to her, and how she skipped playdates to avoid him. He then asks if she wants to exercise with him. He tells her that he learned something amazing. A few days ago, Sir Jade was asked how do you get healthy. Jade asks if His Highness is unwell and what the kid means. The prince says he is fine, but that he has a friend who is frail and he was wondering if they'd be able to play more if they got healthier. Jade thinks about how His Highness is compassionate and considerate of his friends. Jade mentions how his friend can be healthier by getting a consistent routine and adequate sleep, 3 balanced meals, and exercise is the most important. He mentions how the human body needs activity to stay vital. The prince then tells Arlen now that exercise makes you healthy. Our female lead mocks this groundbreaking discovery and thinks about how he might get a Nobel Prize for this. He talks about how she needs to also eat and sleep well, as she says, "Wah, really," sarcastically. She notes how he's heard to be boring again. He tells her they should exercise together, to which she calls that exhausting. She mentions how she gets dizzy from walking, to which the prince says there's no helping it. The prince then asks if he should talk about what happened while she was away and mentions how they had training today. Our female lead is not interested but notes how his chatter is kind of cute and how she'll be polite and listen. He then asks Arlen what she has been up to. He calls her name and stares at her closely. She asks him to step back as he says he did not mean it. He then tells her eyes are pretty pink. She mentions how they told her it was rose quartz, to which he says it suits her. He mentions how she'd be prettier if she smiled. Our female lead wonders where this kid learned lines like that. She thinks about how it sounded sincere so it's not annoying. She mentions not having much to smile about. He then says he will make her smile as she tries to say that's not what she meant. He tells her to look this way. He starts to make faces and she just wants him to listen to what she's saying. But at that moment someone could only smile while in front of a beast. Mahan asks the butler if he tried to hide money. He mentions how this man seems to drop by unannounced every time he's busy. Mahan says he cannot oppose the crown prince but mentions how this was informal. Graham says he also cannot go against the master's wishes. Mahan mentions how this man is guiding his highness astray. The butler decides to just smile through it, as he hopes his highness can see how hard is working right now for him. We later see Pigeon telling Arlin it was fun today. Our female lead thinks about how the kid kept trying for 2 hours and it's time to send him off. She mentions not feeling well and how she will rest now. She thanks him for the visit and how she enjoyed it. She then wonders why he has such a disappointed reaction, as she then says she doesn't know when they will meet again but hopes peace be with him. He tells her no. He mentions how he'd be sad if she keeps saying she's not gonna be able to come. He even said he would take care of her until she got better. He then tells her that he's been thinking he will come to her from now on. He mentions how this will be better as she starts to internally scream no. She tells him to not worry about her as he says he will see her every day until she is healthy because it's due to him. She thinks about how him coming at all is overwhelming, and tells him it's okay. She then thinks about how it should be impossible to come every day since he's the crown prince. She's sure he will forget right away and to not take this seriously. She had thought this as he later calls her name. He mentions coming today as well and how it's been a full week. She pretends to not see him as he's got perfect attendance so far. The crown prince had declared that he would come every day, and her reaction for the first few days was this. She thinks about how he'll stop coming for a few days and how there's no way he'll keep showing up. But it actually happened. He asked if she slept well and how she needs good health to stay healthy. He called good morning to her, and says that staying on schedule is important. He grabbed her and mentioned how they should go on a stroll. He even shows up each new day with a new health fact. He offers steak saying she needs to eat well to be healthy. She wonders if this is for real and how he's too cheerful that she's losing. She doesn't care if he's the crown prince, but that this is her house and the Halburn house at that, one of the 5 great dukes. Does he really think he can go in and out like it's his own place? She wonders if nobody is gonna say anything about how he roams freely and if someone will say something firm. She sees the brigade telling the prince to please take care of their lady. She notes how they're traitors as the prince says they can count on him. She thinks about how she feels alone. Ever since he started coming in, everything about her schedule seems to revolve around him. The most shocking part is that Mahan actually gave approval. This was all allowed by him. The prince speaks about how you need meals with balanced nutrients. She tells him she knows as she mentions carbs and protein. He asks what that is as she tells him they are nutrients. He mentions thinking they are monster names or magic types. She thinks about how she's got his attention again and hopes someone can help. The nanny team all talk about how the two look good together. Her butler Ern seems to be in tears. As she walks she thinks about how there's not a lot of hope. The prince asks if she is done eating, and how he'll look into protein later. He asks if they should go for a walk and how it's good for you. He extends his hand, as she then stares in silence. She asks his highness if he is busy. She notes how he's the heir to the throne, and how he must be busy with studies and sword training. She thinks about how he's using his little free time to visit, and mentions to him how daily visits are unnecessary. He questions why she would say that. He reaches out his hand saying they are friends. He asks if she was worried about that. He says he was a bit busy but that he's fine. She asks him why, to which he says he wants to. He mentions how he likes spending time with her and asks if she does as well. He tells her it is boring to stay home alone as he holds her hand. He then tells her they should go now. She thinks about the word friend, and if she ever really had one. If she thinks back, there were people like friends around her, but for her to be accepted, she had to prove her worth to the other kids. She recalls people mentioning how she's a try-hard genius and how she thinks she's the only one who matters. A guy said they were on the same level and mentioned hearing she had a famous mom. She recalls how people who stayed by her used her and would leave over and over again. She thinks about how at some point, she did not want normal relationships anymore. But that's okay, since from the beginning, having one person was enough. Yet in the end her own mom abandoned her, so who would ever love someone like her? She should not expect anything as her eyes then open. She stares up at the ceiling as she notes how if this is how it ended, then she might be better off without the memories. She recalls back to the prince and wonders what the point of befriending someone who will disappear is. If it will fall apart in the end, then it's better to not start. Being alone is easier. Someone later asks Dylan if this is okay. The man asks what they mean. Mahan mentions how they let the crown prince come and go like this, and wonders if there won't be a problem. Dylan notes the complicated look on Mahan's face. He thinks about how Mahan could block the crown prince yet hasn't. Mahan may act indifferently, but he clearly cares about the lady. Dylan then speaks up asking if Mahan knows the young lady must have friends her age. He mentions how it will be fine and that this is how children grow up. Mahan mentions how Dylan is younger but seems to know a lot about kids. Dylan says he has a lot of nieces and nephews. Someone later asks Pigeon if he went to visit Halburn again. He says yes and mentions how he did training and his lessons too. The lady asks how Arlene is, to which the prince gets excited. He then calms down saying Arlene is getting better but still has a strange look on her face. He hides in her room lately. The lady pats his head and tells him to not be too kind to Arlene, just enough, only as much as he likes her, so that he can walk away at any time. We later see the prince looking down somberly. He recalls being told to not approach too much, because someday that will make it easier for Pigeon. He wonders why Her Majesty would say something like that, and if she doesn't like Arlene. He shakes his head thinking no way, before then noting how even if that's true, Her Majesty's heart will change once Arlene gets better. He tells Arlene he will stay strong and that they will be healthy together. We later see the outside of a balcony. Our female lead notes how strange it is. She thinks about how the prince usually gives up and leaves by now. He had tried being cold to him, and ignored what he said without a response. She even holed herself in her room and kept the doors locked. She has not even shown him her face once, but yet he opens the door yelling that he has arrived again. He just keeps on coming here. He mentions to everyone how it's a lovely morning. He asks where Arlene is before then saying he'll just go say hi. Our female lead notes how he has the ability to connect with people and wonders how he naturally earned everyone's affection in this house. He then turns his head, and yells that Arlene is finally out. She thinks about how she let her guard down. As he grabs the door handle, he asks if she decided to stop sulking alone in her room. She wonders if this is actually a kid's strength. He tells her she looks better now as she walks out. He asks if she has been eating and sleeping properly, as she notes how difficult this is. She thinks about how it'd be easier if he were an awful person, as it'd give her a reason to keep her distance. He asks if she looked at the sky and how it's perfect today. Our female lead notes how he isn't one of the people that work here, and how the more time they spend together, the more this will hurt in the end. He mentions how she is quiet today and asks if she is unwell. She wonders if he ever gets angry, if he has ever been ignored or looked down upon, if that bothered him. She wonders why he is going this far. Before they say hey, he looks confused, as she notes how hiding and avoiding did not work, so she just needs to go on the offensive. She asks if he didn't hear her. Everyone seems to be stunned by this. No matter how the prince acts, there is a difference in their status. Saying something like this normally would mean execution, but since it's kids then it would be overlooked. He starts to shake as she notes how he must be boiling with anger now and how he feels the weight of the class divide. She notes how this is Pigeon's chance. As he says finally, he hopes he gets really mad and blows up the place. He then asks if he just got comfortable with her or something. She loses all her color. As he's happy she spoke to him informally and thanks her, calling this the best. This is not what she imagined as she asks if he is angry, and how she's clearly overstepping their status difference. He says he likes it, because it's her, and tells her to keep talking like that. She wonders what he is trusting her for. She then decides to snap out of it and how if this keeps up, she'll dance to his tune again. She then tells him she'll speak formally again as he's stunned. He tells her he liked it, to which she says too bad and to go away. He mentions how she hates it, so he hates it now as well. She calls him a brat, as she then tells him to go away and they bicker. She wonders why this didn't work and notes how people usually get upset when she's rude. She decides to do something stronger then and make him back off for good. We later see her hugging Mahan. She has been through more than enough, as notes how the prince was extra clingy today. Mahan asks if she is alright. She calls to mom as they sit in silence together for a bit. He then picks her up as she keeps smiling. She then mentions how she was good today and asks if he will grant her a wish. He mentions how he should make a wish due to all his gold stickers. He tells her he will grant her wish and to just say the word. He thinks she will ask for something fancy or to go somewhere special. She tells him to read a bedtime fairy tale. He is stunned as she asks if that is too hard. He says of course not and he's got plenty of time. She thought he would be busy, to which he says he always has spare time for her. He thinks about how he's got a decent way to go before being a good guardian. She mentions how she wants him to grant this wish every day. He then asks if things are going well with the prince, to which she says no. She asks him to stop Pigeon from coming over. Mahan notes how the report seemed good, before then asking if she dislikes Pigeon. She says it's not like that. She says he is so kind that it's uncomfortable. She mentions feeling like the bad one and does not want him or her to get hurt. Mahan notes how she sounds both like a child and an adult. She mentions how Pigeon will get hurt as she does not have much time left. He tells her to not say that as the future is impossible to predict. She tells him to read the fairy tale as he notes how the bright smile in front of him. There seems to be an ominous feeling creeping in. In a playgroup that was chosen by Empress Azani herself, we see the prince as always surrounded by kids. A twin then yells that this is boring. People mention how they've never seen the twins so drained before. They sit in silence. As they then mention how this is all because of that, they both agree, and then yell it's all because Arlin is not here. They mention how it was so exciting before and how teasing the crown prince was so thrilling. One twin then mentions how he heard some intel. He mentions how the prince has been secretly meeting Arlin. The other twin calls this treason, and mentions how they must get revenge. They decide to tail him. We later see the pair in disguise as they've decided to follow the prince all day. He'll learn his lesson for leaving them out. We first see them staring at him during air education, noting how he's busy even in the morning. They later then see him having tea with the empress, as the twins note how close they are. They then see him sword training with Haru, the royal family knight. The prince has quite the packed schedule, but when will he go see Arlin? One twin starts to get sleepy as the other says they must succeed with the tailing. The prince continues to practice, as someone then asks if something is bothering the prince. Since he seems more distracted, he mentions something is on his mind. Everyone stops to listen as they note how he's worried about the fragile Lady Arlin. The prince followed Jade's advice but wants to see Arlin look healthier. He asks how he can help her with that. The group then mentions exercise, to which Jade says a healthy mind in a healthy body. The prince says he agrees but questions how he can get her to exercise. He mentions how she gets dizzy just from walking a little. The group then tells him to just do it. Our prince then wonders if this is a revelation. He then says he gets it now. He writes just do it on a piece of paper, and says he needs to go see her now. We later see her hiding as he calls her name. She wonders who this is, as he tells her to work out, and holds her by the wrist. He tells her he brought something good as she tells him to get away. He says she'll be healthier with exercise as she internally notes how her body is not like that. He tells her to start a 10-minute walk. He tells her to not worry as he'll help her before she faints. She asks how, to which he lifts her up and says like this. She thinks about how he has unrealistic 7-year-old strength. He asks if she thinks she can do it. She wonders why he has unconditional kindness and how she does not understand him. She then agrees to go. We later see him asking Arlin why she is always alone. He mentions not seeing family. He says Mahan is not family and if her mom and dad went somewhere. Arlin notes how Mahan is mom but would rather not explain this to Pigeon. She tells him she does not have any and has not seen her dad since she was born. He starts to get nervous as he asks if she is okay. She says she is fine. She wonders why he's acting hurt. He then says it's okay and tells Arlin that he will be by her side. He tells her she does not need family, and that he'll always be with her. She is taken aback and wonders if he does not know how dangerous those words are. He provides warm comfort instead of teasing, so she has no defense for this. She then grabs his hand, as he notes how she smiled. Someone then asks her if she believes that. Does she want to rely on someone, and she needs to take responsibility for her own life? She knows better than to cling on to others. One day they will be disappointed and leave. She then breaks away from his hand, thinking about how this is her problem. She is not someone fit for this world as she won't be alive soon. It will be fine if she disappears quietly. She tells him to not come here anymore. She thinks about how bright his shine is, and how she hopes he never knows about this kind of world. She tells him she does not want to see his highness anymore. He asks why, as she says he's always been welcomed everywhere, so he would not understand rejection or being left out. She asks for him to respectfully not come here anymore. His hand reaches out as the twins look in confusion. The twins wonder what to do, as they then see his highness crying. We later see the maids talking about his highness and never seeing him like this before. They ask if he cried, as someone says he didn't. A man notes how this is serious. He recalls how the prince's mood would normally be lifted by now with food and gifts. But today the prince is different. Graham asks if something happened at Halburn. The prince is silent. The aide wonders what happened as the prince was fine yesterday. At the same time in Halburn, it is noted that the palace is in chaos trying to console the prince. The Halburn mansion was in silence. Arlene is alone in her room and locked herself in for 3 hours. People wondered what happened and recalled seeing the twins. There is only one person with access to this room right now. We see Mahan walk forth and call for a meeting. We see everyone at the table, as Mahan covers his face. He recalled how the palace sent an urgent message and how something happened. He did not expect Arlin to be in this state either. He notes how parenting is hard, as all the workers agree. He then says the lady is struggling, and asks to hear everyone's thoughts. Someone asks if they should try something extreme, and another maid says the lady seems to like theater. Another guy suggests more novels, as someone then suggests Mahan spend the day with her. She mentions how the lady is happiest with Mahan. He is silent, as Ern says he will discipline Yuni for this suggestion. Mahan then says it is fine though. He closes the door saying the meeting will end here. Mahan thinks about the meeting, and recalls how he barely has any memories with Arlin. He notes how her wish was reading a fairy tale, so she must feel a lot of longing. He notes how foolish he is, and mentions how it's too soon for regrets. We later see her in the room commenting on how quiet it is. Light then enters, as she recalls her mom saying she was her light, only hope and to fulfill her dreams. That burning gaze her mom had, the embodiment of her oldest nightmare. Her mom was not always like this, but after a tragic accident caused by Dad, she could not play anymore. She blamed her dad as he apologized. Dad was then obsessed with her, and in the middle of it all, a daughter with talent was there. It'd be strange if this was not a tragedy. Her mom wanted her to be just like mom. She will not trample on mom's dreams like Dad did. Our female lead tried desperately to live up to these expectations, and to no disappoint. She knew though that her mom did not love her. Only the daughter who would fulfill her dreams. Her hand shook as her mom continued to glare. How could you disappoint me like this? How could you? On the day of competition, our female lead could not lift her bow, and her mom threw her away. Dad showed up 2 months later trying to console our female lead, and told her to live doing what she wanted. Yet no matter what she did after, neither of them cared anymore. One day, it was announced that the winner was Miss OOO. Miss OOO is now a violinist and rising above last year's hardship. Our female lead called to her mom, saying she's still here, right here, alive still, as someone then grabs her and says to give up. They push her asking who cares about a girl who got abandoned her family. Our female lead calls this a cruel contradiction. She recalls the prince calling to her and saying he'll always be by her side. He only met her after she learned to give up. And now that she finally met him, she's not going to be around for long. This is the end, and she still won't live like her mother did. She won't hurt others to get what she wants. Mahan then calls to her. He sits right by her, and says they should go together tomorrow. We later see Dylan wondering if he's seeing things. He recalls the desk was filled with reports yesterday, and now it's all flyers and pamphlets. Mahan wonders where is the best place to go with the lady. Dylan says maybe share it, to which someone mentions the southern part of the imperial capital Pogretsa, where it's stable and has beautiful scenery. Mahan says it's close and that's good considering the lady's condition. Dylan asks if he is departing immediately as Mahan says they should. Dylan then bows saying he hopes they make great memories. Dylan then gets to work noting how he should not worry. As he scribbles, he then sees a light appear. He notes how it should be fine, and it's for the lady's sake. We later see Mahan and the lady stepping out and walking to a carriage. A town comes into view that's near a body of water. Mahan notes how he rarely goes out for leisure, but it's for the lady. She calls to him, as she then says they are in a couple looks today. He tells her the colors are just the same as she pouts. He notes how it's just coat colors and wonders if it's something to be happy about. He then agrees to her previous comment. They also have similar hats, to which he agrees. She comments on how there are many people here, to which he says it's a famous tourist destination. He asks if she dislikes that, to which she says NP. She mentions how her feet are underwater and asks what this is. He tells her it is the lake visible through a magic field. Sherrit is a city covered by the lake with a special magic field. There's a legend that the great demon Sherrit is asleep here. She calls this amazing and cold. Arlin then hears a kid yell for their dad, and a kid asking for their mom to buy something. Mahan notes how there's a lot of family here and how he must hold the lady. She stares down in silence, as she tells him it's okay and that Mahan is here. She mentions how he promised to be her mom. He is stunned as she tells her yes. He asks why not dad, to which she says she has a dad but never has seen him. Mahan notes how it is logical as he holds her in his arms. Arlin says she likes Mahan more than the dad she never saw. He tells her this is a given. He then says they should sightsee before eating. He later asks if she liked the meal, to which she said yes. And he mentions how there will be a water fountain show soon. He then hears that there are flowers for sale and asks if she wants one. She says yes, and later tells him it is pretty and thanks Mahan. He asks if her spirits are lifted, to which she says yes as her mom is trying so hard. She then gives him a rub on the head. He tells her he's glad she's gotten better. She tells him it's all thanks to Mahan. She then tells him that when she dies, to please not make things like a grave. She tells him to leave this flower as it's the first flower he bought her. She tells him she knows it too. Her illness cannot be cured and that she will die soon. She mentions how that's why he did not want to get attached. He tells her that's not it. She says she'll believe him but, to still not make a grave. She mentions how she does not want to be alone in a place that no one visits anymore. Mahan is taken aback. Someone then calls the lovely father and daughter. He asks if they want to play a game. Mahan says not right now but Arlene says she wants to try. She tells him it's alright and to try the unique game. He is stunned, as the rules are said to be simple. Princesses are usually trapped in a tower, but in this game the princesses will be the guardians. Children will solve secrets throughout the mansion and who comes to save them are the heroes. He then says they will check the appearance of their child heroes. People comment on how cute they are, as Mahan wonders if now is the time for games after a shocking statement. He wonders if someone from the mansion said anything strange and how he needs to have a deep conversation. He then notes how he saw something. He wonders why that person is there. An orb breaks in a flash, as we then see the prince and Arlene face to face. She notes how it is Pigeon, as he says the name Arlene. And that concludes the video today. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want to see another part. Ha.